people out there in Power Talk land. I have missed y'all this summer, and I'm so glad to be back. This is my first live show for the fall 2019 series, and I'm thrilled to have an amazing guest for you tonight, and her name is Bryn Blankenship. She just released a brand new book this summer. It's called Limitless Soul, and her book is about hypno-regression and past life and future lives. And what we want to talk about tonight is sort of how the past can influence our present, so that when we clean up the mess in the back, then we can create a more positive reality going forward in our day. So welcome, Bryn.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, I'm really excited for you to be here because, past life stuff it's my bag as well. I do it differently than you, but it's my passion is cleaning up the errors that we made in the past so we don't have to do them again.
Exactly. And when you have more understanding of your past, it helps you to move forward now.
Exactly.
It's not about being stuck in the past. It's about being in the now with more tools and more information.
So tell us about your tool, which is called Soul Expression Spiritual Regression. What's that all about, and how do you do it?
Well, with Soul Expression Spiritual Regression, the acronym for that is SESSOR. So it is an assessment session, all right? So it is spiritual regression, and you go into the between. You go into a deeper hypnotic state that takes you into the between of all of your lifetimes, into the spirit world, and it's a way to connect with soul. It's a way to connect with soul and bring that energy in for clarity, for communication with your soul, and moving forward, direction, all of those things, opening up that piece of soul in your physical.
Okay, so you're like playing in the gap.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
In the between. Yes.
Yeah, that's cool because so much work in the kind of area of the genre that we work in is going back to other lifetimes and looking and seeing what happens there. Yes. And, and I played in that a little bit early on, and I really didn't see the point. It's like, what is the point of going there if you're not going to correct the mistakes you made? So, that to me was kind of like, pardon my French, it was kind of like mental masturbation. So that's when InnerSpeak, when I created InnerSpeak, I realized that we could go back there and we could actually fix some of the stuff we did, which usually involves judgment and resentment and lack of forgiveness and stuff like that, and bring that forward. But what do you bring out of the gap?
Well, so what happens is with Soul Expression Spiritual Regression, the prerequisite to that is having a past life session. But in the past life session, it's not just about going into the past life. It's about exploring the past life to find out the parallels to the theme or thing that you're doing again, to show you in a different way so that you can change what you're doing now, to break that pattern, to identify negative beliefs and shift it around, or negative behaviors, or sometimes bring back positive. Sometimes the client is in a negative place and they need to see that they've had positive past lives, or maybe they're in a place where they're wondering why they don't have love, and they're seeing that they have had love in the past and that it is possible, because maybe a series of breakups or something. And the actual soul expression session, that takes you into the between, into the afterlife, the life between lives state, where you're meeting with your guide, with your counsel, soul advisory council, and also your soul comes through and it helps you to find out more about your soul attributes, characteristics that you bring with you lifetime to lifetime, find out more about your purpose now. It's about finding and following your soul's guidance in your current incarnation. And when that's happening, it's so amazing. I mean, the whole time I'm on the edge of my seat because my client is in that state and they are bringing through all this information and sharing with me. And then I'm asking questions and helping them, to understand what's happening as they're going through it. So it's really incredible to be part of that. And And it's a current life assessment. It's basically, that is what it is. And that's why the acronym SESTER.
So how in the heck did you get involved in this? Because you were an actress, right?
Yes. I was an actress, and I had stage fright, right? So, well, first of all, I had my day job. I was a legal assistant for several years, and I wanted to be an actress. I'd always had that burning desire, and I didn't know how I was going to make that leap from where I was to getting into that. And I found a way to do it, started taking classes, started getting involved in theater, and then along the way, I quit that job and was acting. That was my sole focus, but I had to have a part-time, like a backup job. And so what I did was I went to see a hypnotherapist who helped me work through issues with stage fright, because it would be great until you put the camera on me, and then you put the camera on me and I would overthink it. But, thinking too much pulls you right out of the character. So that led to a series of past life sessions where I explored past lives myself, where I've had past lives as an actor, as a singer, as an artist, in the Middle Ages in Europe. And one was a very successful life, one not so successful. So it gave me some insight into my background. And then one of these sessions turned into a future progression. And that was the one that changed everything. I went in thinking I was going to go into a past life, and I went into a future progression. And I saw myself standing in a field of prairie grass. And in that field, there was a tree. There were a couple of trees, actually, like an orchard. And I was walking through the field having my pick. And I knew that metaphorically this meant that I had my pick of acting jobs. So I was told that I would go out for one thing, but I would come back with something else. So I came home, and then out of the blue, I was still trying to process what had just happened to me. And out of the blue, one of my friends from LA called, and she said, "Bryn, you need to come out here. You'll do really well here." So I worked things out to go, and fear set in, like almost the day before I was going to go, and I said, "I'm not doing it. I'm just not going to go out there." And someone very close to me sat me down and said, "Look, if you don't go, you're going to regret this the rest of your life. And I can't be around you if you're going to do this, because you're going to resent me too." So I sat and had a long talk with myself and picked myself up, went out to LA, and then joined an acting class and was doing my thing. And someone saw me in class. And so they told their agent. She called me in, auditioned me, signed me on the spot, because see, I'd gotten past a lot of those things that had been holding me back. And my job was to audition. So I'd go on 4 auditions a day, every day. It was amazing, instead of a couple of times a month, every day. And before you know it, I was booking work. And then about a year after that session, I'm standing in the Grapevine. This is north of LA, standing in that prairie grass in my Birkenstock sandals behind me was my trailer with my star on the door and my name. I'm feeling pretty good here. This is a pretty good commercial I was doing too. And looking down the hill, there's a tree, just one tree, and the prairie grass. And we were actually filming under that tree. And someone said to me, "Hey, Bryn, you need to watch out, because there could be snakes in that grass." And so I looked down, I looked up, and all of a sudden I had gone 360 back to that session. I'm standing in the scene that I'd seen in the session. It was incredible. And so that was pretty cool. And just a lot of things happened. And I was out there for a couple of years, but I never forgot that moment. And that's when I decided I'm going to become a regressionist, and I'm going to bring this back with me. This is something I can do and bring with me. And then if I can do this for myself, what can I do for my clients to help them get past whatever they're trying to get over or through or deal with?
Yeah. So that's so cool, because, we get these messages from Spirit, and we think that they mean one thing, and they actually mean something completely different. So you thought you were going to go out there and bring in some great acting stuff. What you ended up doing was bringing in Cesar.
Exactly.
You know?
And I love doing that work, and I love the character development. But my plan was I was going to make some money doing that and come back home and open up a wellness center. And then one day it hit me, why don't you just go do the wellness center? So, you know, I mean, I was having fun, but I was having more fun behind the scenes. So
Yeah.
it was like, why don't you just go do that? So
I love it. I love it. I think, and it's so, to me, it's so fulfilling when we listen and we pay attention and then we do it and then our heart sings.
yes. And the big thing too was trusting the guidance that I was being given, stepping out there, putting myself on the line, because I'd done a lot of training. I'd done a lot of work, but I was in the wrong place to be doing, you know, what I was good at. And I like to play the quirky characters. So I did a couple of commercials and, you know, with waffles on my ears and winning the lottery and, you know, playing the quirky one. But, you know, I just could do more when I was out there because there's more opportunities for that kind of character.
Exactly. So in all the work that you've done with all the clients that you've worked with since you transitioned into this new career, have you found a common thread with the people that you work with?
I would say that there's a desire to understand more about their purpose and why they're here. Mm-hmm. That's the most common thing that I hear. You know, they are at a place, they're at a crossroads, or they are, you know, many of them have the material stuff and they're not happy. Mm-hmm. Many others are seeking the material stuff and realizing that that's really not what they want, even if they were to attain it. And ultimately, it's about what's my purpose? Like, why am I really here?
You know, and the thing that I find with people is that they think that their purpose is going to be some kind of huge, grandiose, hard job. And more often than not, what I find, and I'm curious to see if you find this as well, is that they're just supposed to be what they are and show that to the world. It's not about doing anything. It's about being.
Exactly. Many times they're surprised to find out they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do, right? And then there are other times they're told, you are to change careers. Mm-hmm. You are to be doing something else. But sometimes I like to talk about this because that stay-at-home mom or that stay-at-home dad, raising those children is important. So the better and happier the stay-at-home mom, dad, or not even if they're working too, the happier that parent can be, the happier they're going to be with their children, at work. If they're a supervisor, they're going to be better to their employees. They're going to be better. They're just, you know, the happier they are, they're going to spread that. Mm-hmm. If they're not in a good place, they're going to spread that too. So sometimes it's just about reminding them that they're doing exactly what they're supposed to, and it takes pressure off.
Yeah, so tell us about your book, Limitless Soul. What drove you to write a book?
Well, you know, I had these amazing case studies. These are hypno-regression case studies from my actual clients. Mm-hmm. And I had these great sessions. I mean, I had so many sessions that I could have included from thousands of session hours. However, I chose these cases because they were great examples of things that I'd heard many times from other clients. Mm-hmm. So it was one session that I could give you more insight into one person's experience, but there were universal messages in there for everyone.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Could you just kind of like share a piece of one of the stories, just one at random, that might make the viewers tonight really get a taste of what's there so they can run out and buy your book?
Yes. Well, we're talking about joy. So there's one of my favorites is the story. Well, we changed some of the titles when we wrote the book, and I originally had called this one The Birthday Suit. Mm-hmm. And it's about the gifts that you bring with you. That's the new title. And so what happens is my client came in and she wanted to find out more about why she's here. And as she was going into the Cesar, but this was prior to actually getting to the between, She was in the womb. Because during the sessions, we take you back through current life as an entryway into the between.
Okay.
So in that deeper state, she's in the womb having conversations with her spirit guide and finding out more about why she's here. And she started to describe all the things that you bring with you, the skills, the abilities, the talents, the people, the connections that you're going to make for this incarnation. And she said that it's put into a suit, like an invisible suit that's tailored for you. And she called it the birthday suit. And it was just so lovely because the descriptions she gave are incredible. I mean, it's so wonderful to be part of that and observe that, but to have that understanding too, that we do bring these things with us for what you're going to need for the incarnation that you're living. So you have everything that you need inside you that is a tool or an opportunity or someone that you're going to meet that will spark that within you when you need to do it. So like for me, all the things that I've done and then the acting and then leaving that, I had those tools in there, and then I had the awakening or the insight that gave me the guidance to go in this direction or not go in that direction. So that's one of my favorites, the birthday suit. And then when we got to the between, her guides were explaining that she brings joy. She brings joy, and that's needed here on the planet, and that's her purpose.
And so what is she doing with that, like in her day-to-day life? How has she benefited from that?
So it's helped her to be happier and to be more relaxed. Mm-hmm. And so I kept the identities of all the clients. I changed their names and changed identifying details about their careers. So I don't want to say exactly what she does, but she's in a place where she connects with a lot of people. Okay. So doing that, it just gives her an understanding, because just being around her lifts you up. You feel lightened by her. And, it's no surprise that that's her purpose and that's what she does. And then there was another story in the book, and he talked about sending these energy balls. And he would send energy balls out to people. Now, that's the story about the monk. And that's kind of a long one, so I won't go through that whole thing. Mm-hmm. But he led a life of contemplation and learned more in his past life about himself as to why he likes the things that he likes now. And then he had really wonderful conversations with his spirit guide, who was explaining that he sends energy balls out to people to lift them up, or if they're having a bad day, just by his presence. Mm-hmm. But he also owns a chain of pubs, and he's always had an interest in smells and tastes and things that take you back. And we find out more about where that came from, because it came from that lifetime as a monk, where he was in charge of bread, making bread.
Okay, that's so cool. So you work with clients still, even though you've written this book now, you're still working with clients, and you also, I believe, teach people how to do your work, correct?
I do. So right now, I'm not teaching Sessor, mm-hmm. but I do teach hypnosis, I teach hypno skill sets, and hypno regression. And that's a basic and advanced course. And then that leads you to take the next steps, which would be spiritual regression. I'm fine-tuning that before I get that out to everyone.
Sure, no, I get that. That's cool. So how can people find out more about your work if they would like to have a session with you, or actually, sign up to be trained at some point?
Oh, sure. They can contact me through my website, brynblankenship.com, and it's BrynBlankinship.com.
I spelled your name wrong on Facebook. I just realized that. I knew better. Sorry. No, that's cool. So if there was one thing that you wanted to share with the viewers tonight that would help them to be able to better move through their life, what would that be?
That you are not alone, and that you are loved, and you are here on purpose for a purpose. Mm. And that's every single person. every single person is here on purpose for a purpose.
That's beautiful. And it's so true. And it really, I think when we can grasp that, it sort of takes the pressure off, exactly, of the struggle of the day-to-day thing.
If you weren't here, it would change everyone else's lives. Mm-hmm. Because you're here for your thing that you're to do. You're also here to help the others in your group and in your connections that you'll meet along the way. So if you weren't here, then you wouldn't be able to help them with their path.
Yeah, we're all connected. It's a matrix. It really is. And I love that. So what's going to be next for you?
Well, I'm working on the next book.
Cool. So what's it about?
So the next one is about lifetimes on other planets.
Cool, I love that.
Earth is the emotional planet, right? But there are other planets that clients go to too, and I want to write about that and talk about it, so people understand that there's a great big world out there, and we've been there. We've been to those places, many of them.
All over the galaxies. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people look at me like I have two heads when I talk about that, but it's so true. So I completely get that. When I first began to sort of delve into some of this stuff, because in the beginning, when I started studying kinesiology, I didn't believe in past lives. Mm-hmm. And so it was interesting how the spirit would bring stuff to me, but it always came up with ancestral stuff, because I believed in that, but I didn't want to, because my fundamentalist Christian background said, there's no such thing as past lives, you get one shot, until I finally started working with enough clients and it would come up for them. Oh God, if it's happening for all these people, it must be true. And then the same thing happened many, many years later, that I began to get glimpses through my work into lifetimes on other planets. But somebody told me that Earth is the planet of free choice. It's like the vacation, the holiday place. And the more I've dived into that, I realized, it's a prison planet, because free will can let you walk down paths you would never want to, in your right mind, do, but you have that opportunity to do it. And I believe our souls are little data gathering machines trying to feed information back into the divine mind so that we all have access to it, because we are all connected. And that, we will experience it. You put it out there in front of my soul's going to, trip and fall and impale her face on a stump and take her eye out, which is what I did. I'm like, okay, why did I just do that? And it was because my soul wanted to understand what that was all about and how could I use that to help other people. There's a lot of responsibility with coming here and doing a life on planet Earth.
Well, I had that background too. Growing up when I was younger in the church, we would go to church and come out, and I'd be 4 years old. I'd be very young, and the preacher would say, "Well, honey, did you enjoy the sermon today?" And I would ask him, "Well, if we have life eternal and everlasting, and we go on to other places, where did we come from?" And my mother,
she was like,
my mother wanted to crawl under the steps the front steps of the church. She would say, "Don't ask him that." And I said, "I want to know where we come from." So, I've always had an interest. I didn't really know it as past lives, but as I got older, I used to wonder about past lives and then finding out more. And then to speak to why you might experience some of these things, the way it's been described to me by the guides is that there's a long way and there's a short way. Sometimes the long way is the short way.
Yeah.
We're only viewing this one chunk of this lifetime, right? Mm-hmm. We're not viewing from the perspective of all of our lifetimes when we're thinking about what we're experiencing now. So when you go into these sessions and you have access to your soul and to your soul advisory council who helped you when you were coming here, as well as your spirit guides, you just have more tools, more information about who you are and uncovering some of those mysteries of the soul. So your guides are helping with the day-to-day, but it's the Soul Advisory Council that helps with the planning of you getting here, coming here. And also, a piece of our soul comes here, but our soul stays in that space. So, like, your soul is there, and then a piece comes down here or to another planet to experience. Right. And that's, that's how you can be in two places at one time. But then you can connect back to soul and find out more about what you need to do. But sometimes,
and I believe we can be in more than two places. I think I don't know how many expressions our soul has, but it can be a lot, I think.
Yes, well, and it could be parallel lives. It could be multiple. It takes a lot of energy to do that, but it can. And when you can connect back to soul, you just have more guidance. Exactly. So there may be messages that soul is sending to you that you've ignored or you weren't understanding, and then things get a little clearer. You start to, when you put yourself out there and make some of those. Take the test, like, I put myself out there to go to LA and follow through with the guidance I was being given, and it led me to where I am now. But if I hadn't gone, then there would have been another path, but everything was leading in that direction. And so then, had I not gone, which I almost didn't, but had I not, that would have imploded all of that energy, and then it would have taken time to regroup. Right. And realign with new people that were going to work with me, because these other people were already set up, at a soul level. And it was great, because when I was out there, I met people that I'm still friends with today. And, some of them were famous. It doesn't matter. But, they went on and followed that path, and they've done really well with it. And I've taken this path. But I'm happy. And it doesn't matter, because I'm happy.
One of my mantras is if it's easy for me, it's right for me. And I tend to find that when I'm really following the path of the soul, stuff kind of gets out of the way, and it makes it easy for me to go. And when it starts getting hard and rough and scritchy, it's usually because it's my ego mind that's driving the bus and not my soul. And so I generally will stop. Sometimes it takes me a while to figure that out. But I'll generally stop and, back up and go, okay, wait a minute, where did I start driving? And it wasn't supposed to be me, it was supposed to be spirit, But so I think it works that way. But we have run out of time, Bryn. This has been very exciting, and I can't wait till you get your new book done so I can have you back to talk about that one, because I love the intergalactic stuff. That's one of the things that really makes my heart sing. So cool. We will do that as soon as it's ready to go, and I'm sure that Deborah will hook us up. So it won't be a problem. So thank you so much. And viewers, go to her website, Bryn Blankenship, BrynBlankiship.com, and check out her work and get yourself a copy of her book. It's great. Limitless Soul. You'll love it. And so until next week, and in fact next week, I've got a poet. She's another author. She's a young lady who has published a book of poems, and it's called May I Only Leave Rose Petals. But really what we're going to be talking about is the dark night of the soul and what she went through that came out of her as this work of poetry, which is absolutely beautiful. So join me next week, and until then, remember, people who take responsibility for their lives create the reality they desire. I love you all, and I'm so glad to be back. Ciao.